Yeah, I think this is working good. If you want to add more of these, you can. You just use the same strategy. So right now we have this. You can experiment with selecting, for instance, some adding another grid or another layer of thunderbolts here on the ground and kind of grabbing his leg or something like that. That could also be interesting, even though it probably won't be visible here. So here we could use something coming from this side of the arm and going down. That could make sense. Or actually having connections between different parts of Iron Man. That's also a valid option. So let's create a connection, a layer of thunderbolts that goes from this part of the arm to the area of the belly or something. I think that could be an interesting effect. Or even towards the ground. I think at during this stage we could definitely have that happening. Yeah. So let's just do that. It's pretty simple now that we have everything set up. We can just copy this, dive inside. I'm going to just change the name to left. Dive inside. And we only need to change here the isolate arm. I'm going to change to R. Template Iron Man. Hit the selection and let's select something from below. Again, based on the angle, I think this will work well. Enter. And it's done. Okay, so all we have to do now is, oh, I forgot to deselect the other side. So let me go back to the selection. I'm going to hit Control and just go disable this option and just deselect everything that's there. Hit enter. And now we just have a look at the final results. Let me change the name here to left. And I also want to change the placement of the grid. Almost forgot that. So let's template Iron Man again. And here on the grid, we'll just change the transform. Let's put this over there. Things change automatically just because we're kind of moving things out of place. And most of these effects are based on position. So yeah, you can even put it really straight down if you want. But I think this should be an interesting effect. Something like this. Yep. Go up. And now we have all these layers happening. Just gonna do one more. Maybe we'll have less here or less there. Maybe less there. I think there might be too many. So here on the only thing you need to adjust is here on the scatters, where we have our expression going from 2 to 4. I'm gonna say 1, 2, 3 on one side, just so they're not exactly the same number. And yeah, another thing I'm gonna do is make sure that on either on the Thunderbolt on the ground arm right or ground arm left, make sure to change the global seed as well here. So we're using the frame, and let's add a random number 789. Remember that that needs to change on the other side as well, so that we always have the same number of points on both sides. But this way we have different numbers on this one and on that one. Okay, yeah. Just making sure that it's everything's different. Okay, if you want to add connections between different parts of Iron Man, again, pretty easy to do. Let's create some connections here. Going towards the belly or something, we can just go. I'm going to copy this one, Alt, and let's say belly or abdomen. It's more manly. Abdomen, arm, left. And here the main difference is that instead of using grid, we're not going to be using the grid. We're going to be using another isolate. So this is isolating the arm. We can use exactly the same area or just expand it or something. If you want to expand, you just go to your selection and press Shift G and expand the selection. That's what I'm doing. Maybe even add another area here. Probably deselecting anything that's facing up. And hit enter. And I'm going to copy this. Not going to be needing the grid anymore, so this can go away. And on this second one, we'll select some areas here on the belly. This, maybe this, maybe this. The crotch, why not? And hit enter. And that way we have two sides. We're merging them and we'll have these connections happening. Of course, these should be smaller. So when we apply this and we do the polywire, make sure that you kind of lower this quite a bit. Let's say 0.6 so that it's smaller. If you want to add a bit more detail here, it makes sense, 1.5. And it's up to you if you still want to have those secondary. Let's have a look at the final result. If you want to still have those secondary elements going on, I think they're cool. I think it's a pretty robust system, so it kind of works by itself. Yeah. Except that maybe here we don't delete pretty much anything. Okay, we're still deleting quite a bit. So let's just make sure we keep pretty much everything when we're scattering, and that way we'll have a lot more, and we can scatter more of these. So here when we're scattering between 2 and 6, maybe we can go to 4 and 8. So that we have more of these. Yep. And that's done. So just that. Now we have an extra layer of course, you can decide that you don't really want to have as many and fine-tune this properly. But yeah, we'll have an interesting effect there, I think. So I just spent a few minutes fine-tuning the noises and all the parameters that were available to us on the system. And now I'm just going to do a flipbook to see how this looks in playing in real time. So here is the effect. It definitely feels like he's being electrocuted, and pretty dynamic, pretty robust system. If you think it's too much, just fine-tune it to your own liking. This concludes this week's effect, which was the establishing a race system. And next week, we'll continue to work on this shot.